I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been listening in on these videos. I know there's so many things you could be doing, and most people are already busy. So, just the fact that you're taking some time to listen to these videos, I really appreciate that, and I'm glad if these videos help you. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. And if you do like this video with others, do give them a like because that does help the videos become circulated to more people so that they can watch them as well. Anyway, so the topic of today is about the narcissist regretting leaving you. So if you were in a relationship with a narcissist, or maybe you were entangled with a narcissist in some other form, could be platonic or in some family setting, but most commonly you see this in romantic settings. If you were in a relationship with a narcissist and they ended up discarding you, or maybe they devalued you to the point where you just felt you were forced to walk away, it's usually a relatively short amount of time before they regret their decision to leave or push you away. And the thing is, narcissists like to think that people are replaceable. Narcissists like to think that whatever connection they had with you, and whatever they were getting from you, that they can easily get that from other people. And that's all kind of going on in the back of their minds when they're devaluing their partner, when they're devaluing their supply. In the back of their mind, they're getting the kicks out of making themselves feel superior to the other person. And at the same time, because they're in this position of superiority, at least in their minds, they think that they can easily find somebody else to play that role if they ever decided to get rid of you or just push you away. In their minds, they like to think that people are very replaceable and discardable. But when narcissists do find themselves away from you for some time, and they don't really have the access to your life anymore, they're not really in a position to extract the supply from you anymore the way they used to, then they quickly find that something's missing. So you often have that transitory period in between, though, which is, between the time they leave you and between the time they start missing you. They're often enjoying the novelty of a new person, of a new supply. And the fact that that new person is distracting them, is helping them feel kind of, euphoric, just uplifted in that sense of being enveloped by this new person and thinking what that person might have to offer them. They're temporarily distracted from you. They're temporarily distracted from their own emptiness, and they're temporarily distracted from, their own truth, if such a thing even exists for a narcissist. The truth about them, what they need, and the people who can give them what they need. They're distracted by all that, and they're temporarily focused on this new person. But as destiny will always have it with a narcissist, this new person, the novelty of the new supply starts to wear off, starts to wear thin. And then they're very quickly back at square one. And then when they reach square one, they start remembering the connection that they had with you, the things that you would do for them, the sacrifices that you would make. Of course, they think about this from a selfish perspective. They're not thinking about this because they care. But the fact that their emptiness and their kind of meaningless existence starts to show itself, they start realizing all the things that, the good things that you made them feel, the meaning, if you would, that you gave them when they were a part of your life, because you would devote your time, energy, focus, love, appreciation, all that you would devote towards them, you would focus it upon them. And they realized that they don't have that anymore. And just kind of going back, the thing is, that cycle is just all too common with narcissists. They have somebody who's given their world to the narcissist, sacrificing everything, and then the narcissist gets, they get very cocky, they get very They get very overconfident in thinking that people who that there are many people out there who can give them what you're giving them. And because they're kind of channeling your energy towards them, they kind of see, they go into this kind of demigod status, this space where they just feel on top of the world. But what they're really doing is they're channeling all your energy towards them, and you are the one who's kind of sustaining that. You're the one who's sustaining them in this very uplifted position. And they confuse that as thinking they're doing it on their own, because they don't really see the part that other people play in their life. And that's actually one of the most self-sabotaging parts of the narcissist, which is the things that they accomplish because of other people, with the help of other people, through other people. They quickly forget and just simply don't acknowledge that these other people actually have a certain contribution towards their life, a contribution towards their well-being, their happiness. Not that narcissists feel happy, but they can feel these positive, euphoric feelings and this positive supply when their partner devotes their time and attention towards them. So they're very quick to disregard and underestimate the positive things that come from other people. So as they're kind of borrowing your energy, kind of borrowing everything that you're offering, and that good feeling that comes from the things that you offer, they mistaken that as if they're generating that by themselves. And then by putting you down, devaluing you over time, because it's just what they do to feel good about themselves. They feel that they need to go and find another drug, another potent supply, somebody who has a bit more kick to give than what you offer, because you're all too predictable by now. You're very familiar, and through the devaluation, you find yourself becoming more weak, and the supply that you offer them, in their eyes, isn't quite the same as it used to be. So they take what they can from you, and then they kind of, they kind of borrow that euphoria that comes from you, and then they transition on to somebody else. They groom somebody else who kind of will keep them in that euphoric place, but now they have the novelty of a new supply and everything that comes with that. But again, once the novelty wears off, like I said, for this new person, then they're just faced with themselves again, and they can't help but think about you and the things you've done. And they don't like to acknowledge it, so they'll try to find distractions and try to use this new person or other new people. And sometimes they'll resort to things like, binge drinking, drugs, or other addictions, other unhealthy habits to kind of camouflage this negative feeling. But it's if you ever did have something good to offer them, if you ever did play that important role, which you probably would have, then they eventually find themselves ruminating about you and the things that used to offer them, and how they can try to have those things back in their life. And especially if they know you're doing good, if they can see that you've improved and that you've bounced out of the fact that they would have abandoned you or just pushed you away, and if things are going well for you now, then they really crave having a part of everything that you can offer. So they want to come back into your life. And it's from those initial feelings of regret, to ruminating about you, that they start entertaining thoughts of hoovering you, testing the water, seeing where you're at, to see if they can find a way to work themselves back into your life. And they can't really help it, because the narcissist has needs. They have basic needs, and they're very dependent. They're very dependent on other people to have these needs met, even though they don't like to admit that. But it's very true. If you see the narcissist with other people, you might see them looking as if they're on top of the world. Things are great. You might think that they're super independent, super confident, but that's all a facade. Once they're on their own, it's always a matter of time before they have to face themselves. And then, the people who they've gotten rid of in the past, they just can't help but think, okay, I'm gonna have to try to get that person back in my life. Some people call this the harem garage. Just it's almost like you're in the back burner. You think they're out of your life, but then it's only a matter of time before you circulate into their thoughts again. And then they're thinking of ways to work their way back into your life, and so on. So yeah, everything is cyclical with the narcissist. If you from the beginning, when they would have met you, things would have started off great, very promising future, very strong connection. Then things start going south. Then it's a long, steady decline. And then they start basically harvesting all the good things that you can offer them. And they're just using that, like your energy, your everything that you sacrifice. And then they go on to a new person. And then they're momentarily in that euphoric place again, but that's short lived. And then they find themselves, in their own dark place where they have to face their own feelings and emptiness. And then you surface back into their thoughts. And then they want to bring you back into their loop. It's just a cycle, really. Everything with a narcissist is cyclical. So the question is, what do you do when you receive the Hoover? I mean, obviously that's up to you. You shouldn't entertain it, but a lot of people, they do need to entertain a few Hoovers to learn from the experience, to know that nothing good comes out of that. Because again, you're just going through another cycle. You're going from the up to the downs, and then they abandon you again. But every time they Hoover you and you accept them back, the cycle tends to repeat itself more quickly, and they try to discard you more heavily, because knowing that you're in a very bad place, knowing that they left you in a bad place, kind of gives them that post-discard supply that lasts a bit longer. So yeah, just know that they do regret. If you ever did play an important role in their life, if you ever did have something really genuine to offer, then they will always reach a point where they will, I use the term regret. Maybe regret isn't the best word, but they will miss you, and they will realize that you are more valuable to them than they gave you credit for, and they'll want you back. And then the question is, how do they act off those thoughts and impulses? So yeah, I mean, you can expect them to test the waters with you, Hoover you, talk to people who are close to you, maybe your friends, acquaintances, just to kind of feel like they're making their way back into your life in some way, so that they can then determine if it's worth taking the plunge to try to get you back. But yeah, it's up to you what you do when that happens. Of course, the recommendation is just to keep them out, but sometimes you need to accept a Hoover to learn that lesson.